Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
WTF What's the Focus podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's the focus? Pop culture, movies, and TV news. What's the focus? What's the focus?
You're awful!
The preceding joke was brought to you by Men. We don't know what we did.
Thank you for joining us. This is WTF What's the Focus podcast, episode 7. As always, episode 7. Introducing
7 chickmunks sitting on their branch.
7. No, so
Good
introducing movie. Good movie right off the bat. We're just going something about Mary, which I
What's
respect.
in the box?
Just jumping around to now that movie 7. I like it. All right, Brad Pitt. So introducing co-host Matt. Hello.
Yep.
And then introducing our good friend Mike Miccio. Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good sound effects in here soon, I swear.
Yeah. Eventually. So, Mike, I wanted you to come on the show, one, just because you're a great friend of mine, and I thought it would be fun to have you come on, but also because of what you do for a living. So if you can kind of just brush over that for a second and just kind of give a little intro on what you do, and then we'll kind of just ask you some questions about that.
Sure, yeah. Mainly in the past, I want to say 6 to 8 years, I've been working extensively in game development. Right now, for the past 5+ years, I've been at Electronic Arts, working at Maxis for The Sims, and I've worked on several projects there as far as what is currently Sims 4 right now, and the mobile game as well. And then we're also, got some unannounced projects that we're working on that I can't go too much into, but
I love
some
the
exciting stuff. Yeah, definitely some exciting stuff for the future of the franchise. But I'm a senior quality analyst. So basically work in their QA department and kind of oversee the extensive testing and test suites that we run as far as quality control for the product. And
In comparison to like Grandma's Boy, do you just go and play a lot of games and just look
I think that's the generalization everyone thinks is we're sitting there playing a bunch of games all day, and more or less I like to say that's what it is, but just to keep it short, but a lot of it is project management of honestly running our external teams, which are our actual core testing teams, which will run the actual test suites that we actually write and author. So it's a lot of working in Jira, which is a task management software, as well as Excel, and working with tools and working embedded with our developers with whether it be actual tools that either for content creation or design and tuning, things that these tools that help assist and make the product. So I mean, it's basically I'm embedded within multiple different areas of the team, and I definitely get a good oversight as far as how development kind of rolls out through production.
Sounds like 6 to 8 years. You've been doing this for quite some time.
Yes, yeah. I definitely have been doing it for several years now, quite some time. I mean, I kind of lowball myself always, but yeah, I'm always stay humble. But yeah, I kind of.
Where are they located? Where's EA located?
So they are located. Main headquarters is in Redwood Shores, which is in Redwood City in Northern California. So yeah, that's the main hub, and then there are development studios all across the globe. Most recently, I was able to go to Melbourne, Australia, for our project handover for our mobile project. Since we handed over the mobile version of The Sims over to our developer over there in Australia, so got to be a part of that transition. What was
That's awesome. Thank God for people like you, man, because as interesting as I think all that is, and I would love to like dive into that. Like I would personally love to get in there and see like if I could actually do any of it. I probably couldn't, but man, I love all that stuff. I mean, that's so intriguing to me.
Well, I mean,
it's a good gig you got.
Yeah, I mean, it's it might seem daunting on the outside looking in, but it's very much. Best way to describe it is, it's kind of like a clock in regards to, there's so many cogs that make the pieces work and so many dependencies upon that. And, it's
like you said, you're embedded. You're in there. You're that key cog of that clock. I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on here.
Yeah. Thank you.
What if I couldn't drop the whole Grandma's Boy thing and I was like, yeah, totally, man. Just take off the Woody Allen jacket and let's do some DDR, man.
Yeah.
Let's do some Dance Revolution, man. Let's just do it.
I will say, if there's any playing games, it's not so much playing our actual game versus, on our breaks and whatnot, we were actually playing, the other games, that are popular amongst the industry. So we're always trying to keep abreast of the latest and greatest.
Well, that's great.
Sims themselves have been around. I feel like, I'm not terribly versed in video game culture myself, but I feel like the Sims have been around for just absolute generations since I was a young child.
Yeah, it is quite impressive. Like the Sims franchise itself was came to be in 1999 with the first iteration, and it's been kicking on here for at least 17. I think we just celebrated our 18th or 19th year, I believe.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you talk about any game franchise, that's been around that long, and there's definitely far and few.
Obviously, I mean, you're evolving with the times, but is it still a popular game itself, The Sims?
The Sims itself is a very unique game, and it's a very unique brand. The community is it's not what you would think it would be, like as just a casual gaming core. A lot of people that play these games aren't necessarily core gamers that play first-person shooters or the other types of games. We do definitely get like a wider demographic of players versus any other type of game that's.
Well, I mean, I've seen The Sims used as an educational tool too.
Yes, it's been used educational for. I mean, you can even bare bones say it's used for behavioral.
You lost me. You lost me there. Then
yeah,
I'm out, man. Behavioral stuff. You got to just take me as I am. No.
Yeah, I mean, there's an accountability to the game. I mean, you got to take care of your Sims, right? And the latest iteration of Sims 4, like these Sims don't really solely depend on you so much as they actually have emotions, and it's up to the player to respond to those emotions and how do they want to go forth with how the sim is responding in game. So it's
sure, and then you like evolve as a character depending on like the actual ways that you go through the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, sometimes it's just fun to be at my desk and just to watch this game simulate in the background, just to see what these Sims, get into and what they're up to. I mean, it's crazy. Whether it's starting crazy relationships or, having someone's cheating on their spouse or being flirty, or someone just has bladder failure and starts pissing themselves in the bathroom. Like it's like why is this happening?
Rebecca, stop doing that. Put that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
oh
definitely.
Man, that's cool, man. I like that. Wait, so I don't mean to cut you off, but for anybody who's just now kind of listening to us for the first time, before we actually were just talking about really Disney/Marvel, DC TV and movie news. And what we're trying to do as a show is we're trying to really broaden ourselves out, get other people onto the show that are experts in different categories, such as video games.
WTF.
Yeah, so we're really trying to say, like, what is the focus, and that can at this point really be anything, but we're starting out small. But leading into video games, comic books, graphic novels, we're going to be trying to talk about all of that stuff on a show-to-show basis, which is going to be a lot of fun and open the door for more guest speakers, which is also a blast. So anyway, didn't mean to cut you off, but kind of segueing now, Mike, if you had to pick kind of just any personal favorites of maybe something you've worked on in the past that you still think is a classic game, or something that you now that is new that you think is going to catch on or is already getting popular, whatever it may be, what would you recommend to somebody who's maybe just going out and trying to just pick up a game that they can just enjoy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of experiences out there in gaming. I mean, gaming is not so much, it's not so much of a singular experience anymore as too much how much it is today. Of, you can really go out there now and detach yourself from what's going on in the day-to-day grind of life, and actually experience things that you obviously can't experience in real life. And I feel like that to have that to have that freedom is such a privilege that we're so lucky to have. But I mean, growing up, I mean, there was two things that influenced me very, very, very much into where I'm at today, and one would be the film Jurassic Park, and then the other would be the video game franchise Mortal Kombat.
Absolutely.
Whether it be, I went to school for 3D animation and visual effects. And I definitely, said that, after seeing either Jurassic Park or playing Mortal Kombat as a kid, like I got to be a part of this industry in some capacity.
That's amazing. I love that.
So whether it's a kid nowadays,
that's the one franchise I would love to see is Mortal Kombat. Start that fresh. I would absolutely watch that again. Sorry, continue.
Well, you're go into that too. You're in
good news. There's breaking news as of today about that. Like literally, I've been waiting 25 years for this. But yeah, they have announced today that the James Wan, actually the director of Aquaman, is heading up with Warner Brothers to actually bring a reboot to the Mortal Kombat film franchise.
Yep, I was going to bring that up. Yep.
I am super stoked for that.
Jeez, I know.
No, it's not a surprise. I've been waiting for this for years. It should be out and about.
It should be. I hope they do it similar to what Marvel has done. Give me a couple of origin stories. Give me a Scorpion origin story. Give me a Raiden origin story, and then build up to the big Mortal Kombat. I love the original movie. Hell, I even watched the second one a couple of times. But yeah, no, that's something that's kind of sat dormant for long enough. I'd love to get a movie franchise out of that one.
Dude, Sub-Zero's story is so cool. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I want to say back in early 2010s, there was a web series that kind of...
Oh, we watched it, Mike.
Started,
I know.
Yeah, the Mortal Kombat Legacy series. And
which was better than the movie, in my opinion.
Yes, and they took their time in actually developing characters, which was really cool. And you could see the potential there, and I'm glad to see that, it's getting a second chance on the silver screen as much as...
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Can't wait.
I know. Look at asking you shall receive. I mean, come on, man.
Seriously, I'm gonna go ahead and log off and just watch them again.
Yeah. I mean, and with that, like, I can't say enough about the latest Mortal Kombat 11. I can't believe it's the 11th iteration, but yes, it's out.
Wild.
It's an amazing game. I quite honestly, it's pretty cool to see a team that has been growing the past 25 years from the first installment to this day. And they went through some rough patches, I want to say, early on in the mid 2000s, but they took a lot of chances with their fighting games. I feel that like the Street Fighters and the Marvel vs. Capcoms, really at this point have kind of hit a little stale. And if you just play the latest version of today, like there's so much of a theatricality to the game, to the depth of the characters. It's such a more in-depth experience than what we were first attracted to early on as kids was just blood and violence. But I was more so on the side of, wow, these characters have backstories, they have origin stories, and then you really feel like you start to get attached to these characters, which is pretty awesome.
You start with the multiverse. I mean, there is just have just multiple dimensions. You start with such a vast, you know it already. That's like it's like page one for them. And so just you're able to go in so many different directions. You're right. When it comes to stories, when it comes to powers from other sides, conflicting with one another. No,
I can't remember another game too. Honestly, I was big into Mortal Kombat forever. And can you guys remember any like other game really that people would memorize all of the moves? I mean, all of them. And it was like, oh, I need to, you're Sub-Zero. And you're like, I need to freeze this guy, or I need to be a statue of the frozen guy and do a backflip so he hits this guy instead. Like, I remember asking like friends of mine and them just being like, oh yeah, it's down, up, left, right, X, 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 or whatever it was at the time. Like, that was such an incredible popular game.
Yeah. Street Fighter was there back in the day around that time, but Mortal Kombat, you were able to do the specialty stuff, the fatalities, the flawless victories, the way that they capitalized on that feeling of I just did it perfectly. The way that Street Fighter, at least with my remembering it, never had that sort of allure to it.
Yeah, I was always Blanca, and I just raged. So
yeah, I mean, Street Fighter, to its defense, at its core, is a great gameplay fighting mechanic game. But Mortal Kombat had the flair, and the flair still shines to this day. I mean, for some people, they might say might be dated or whatnot, but it's nostalgic, and it is. I'm very happy to see that the franchise is still relevant.
Now, do you have a favorite character that you like to play with, or is it kind of just a bunch of different ones for different reasons?
Oh, hands down, Scorpion. I mean,
you and Maddie.
Down. Yeah, I mean, how could you not? I mean, yeah.
See, I'm a Sub-Zero guy, man. I've always been a Sub-Zero guy.
Yeah,
we know.
hey, I like him too, but if I had to pick, you know what I'm saying? I'm going with Scorpion.
I understand. I didn't say I won a lot either.
Or I'm going with Hanzo Hasashi, which is even like that's how in depth the game has got now. You know their real names now, not
that's
so much
amazing.
their clan name. Like it's getting to that level.
Again, I hope they do the movie right, because they have a real depth of characters that is already there. They can just they don't have to rush it. They can take their time, which I hope they do and do it right.
Yeah, I believe they've been working on a script for at least the past 10 years, and I think it just...
What is this, Avatar?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm literally like at this point...
James Cameron's in charge of this one, or
please let this be good and don't fuck this up, because, yeah.
There'd be a lot of disappointed people.
Yeah, you've taken your time on this. You better get it right.
All right. So, Mortal Kombat, awesome game. This one is... When did this last one just come out? Like a month ago or a couple weeks?
Yeah, it came out, I want to say April 23rd, I believe. So a couple weeks ago.
And you're live streaming this, correct?
Yeah.
Or can people watch you, or?
Yeah, you can live stream. You can play online with people. There is a lot of player progression in this game. As far as there's the only gripe I have about it is just due to the modern climate of games nowadays is how things get monetized, and it all stems from mobile gaming. And I feel like that free to play model has worked its way into AAA games. And I will say that the team over there, obviously since they're owned by Warner Brothers, so there is definitely an incentive from Warner Brothers to push on them to monetize their game. However, there was pushback from the developer, which is NetherRealm, that, hey, you know what, we're going to have a system in this game where, yeah, it might be grindy to get gear and items and unlocks, but we're not going to charge players for this stuff. Like, they should be able to earn it in time, which, to me is an awesome pushback, because I feel like there's a lot of, fight right now in the industry as far as, what should be paid content versus what should be, free after a base price package of, after you pay $60 for a game.
Yeah, you're putting up, $60 for the game?
Yeah.
Right out the gate, you're putting how much memory on whatever console you're using. I mean, this thing, it's already fairly expensive, already an investment in your time and money. Obviously, capitalism finds a way, and they're going to try to make the most they can out of it. But no, I agree. I hope they continue to make that free for play as deep as they can take it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is there's also a lot of, discrepancies about loot boxes right now, and whether or not those are, fair, for players and whether or not that's some sort of form of gambling. And I think there's some legislation right now that's in the works to actually ban loot boxes in games. And I honestly am so for it because I feel like it kind of just dampers the experience to feel that you here you go, you pay a $60 base package and there's extra content in the game that is literally on a pay to win, pay to win a business model versus actually, putting the time and effort in to actually earn these items and not actually charging the player. I do believe that the DLC packages can be done right if planned accordingly. Like you can actually release content and have an actual base price for each content release, but to actually inhibit the player from earning these items in game, for free is, I don't know. Like there's checks and balances with this right now, so we'll see. It's an evolving time right now in the industry.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. That's really interesting. So kind of leading into that now too is the industry and kind of what we were talking about before we actually started recording. You mentioned now kind of a new genre of game within a line of kind of new communications within that game. Can you kind of dive into that and tell people a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. I want to say in the past, 5 to 10 years now, there's been this game that's it's been creeping up on people, and it's spawned this new e-league that everyone's been hearing. And whether it's League of Legends or Dota, which is very popular on Steam, these games have definitely sparked the idea for having competitive play, nationwide, and have it being covered by media and broadcasted across the world. And with that, it has spawned a new game genre, which is, if no one's familiar with the Fortnites or the PUBGs, is Battle Royale. And with that, literally having that Hunger Games, template of, here you are with 100 people spawning on a map, and it's literally last man standing. I'm
always the first one out, man. I swear to God. I don't know what it is. Like, I am always like, I'm like, oh, man, somebody else has to die. And then I look and I'm like, oh, man.
Well, as soon as you see someone, you get super excited. You run right toward them, right? And then that's it. They have a gun and they blow you to bits.
If I was brave, yes, but I actually run away from them, try to hide behind a tree, and then they shoot me in the back. It's really cool.
Whatever. The tree would fall on me. That's my luck. I'll spawn in a high area and just fall to my death.
And if you know Fortnite, you could really destroy anything. So it's a possibility.
You can destroy and you can rebuild. That's a specific mechanic that's signature to Fortnite, which is what sets itself apart from the others out there. But the latest one that came out in February is definitely here to stay too. And it's called Apex Legends, and it was dropped by Respawn, the makers of Titanfall, and it's got a much more arcadey, I want to say, like style shooter feel to it. It will play more like what you're familiar to Titanfall series, or if Call of Duty, which is more of a faster first-person experience. Versus like the Battlefields, which is more simulation based. But yeah, it's I want to say what was really neat about this game is that it did not have any media coverage or announcement up before its actual drop. It was actually a game that was dropped day one unannounced, just bam. Like they had a quick 30-minute, hey, we have an announcement from EA streaming, from Respawn Studios, and they immediately just dropped the game. And with that, they immediately got, I think, over 90 million users in their first
smart,
first
very
month, which I think
really
is such an amazing concept. I really hope the other game studios pick up on this and start, not having a game announcement like 3 years ahead of time. Like literally, even this latest Mortal Kombat was announced in December for the Video Game Awards, and it was announced then, and it released, obviously in April. So you literally had to wait less than 4.5 months before it released, which is an appropriate amount of time, in my opinion, to actually ramp up and feel, the excitement building, for any type of game that you're waiting for.
Yeah, wow! Just to drop it like that, that's pretty wild.
Day one, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and impressive to the fact that they sold as many as they did when there wasn't that kind of media going around and promoting it, which is incredible as it is as well. So,
yeah.
Well, it also leads to how many people are actually paying attention, which is impressive too. People are out there looking for these things too, which is
I feel like dedicated gamers will always find the information that they need to find. They do a great job on getting out there and really just checking any of the back roads or back doors that they can to actually find out what's coming out or anything that they are interested in.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say within the first week of that game dropping, whatever the top-rated Twitch streamer is, he was streaming that game, and he had over 100,000 watchers within that first week, like watching him. Which is, I mean, you just put that in perspective. Like that's just someone watching on a web stream. Like that's. Imagine if that were like on TV or something, or more more marketed for a more national audience.
I wonder what I can film myself as and get money and revenue, like just like eating a big hoagie sandwich or something.
Yeah, but you got to be feeding yourself like with your feet, though.
Like as my wife said, she said, "Oh, great idea for a podcast." She's like, "It could be Heroes and then Hero the sandwich." So it could just be me talking about superheroes eating a huge grinder.
Yeah,
she's got something there. You
got to spice it up a bit. You got to put some scorpion peppers in that sandwich, and then people will really, really tune in. They really want to see you suffer.
Yeah, well, sure they would. Gamers and viewership accords. I mean, the gaming industry as not an entertainment platform, but as a tournament platform continues to grow and grow. Go ahead and touch on that for a second.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean, you're starting to see. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Overwatch, but Overwatch is very popular right now, and even on my local, sports channels on the weekends, they'll be broadcasting the E-League for it, and there's definitely a market that is pushing developers to focus on these types of games for not just so much the longevity of the product, but the studio as well. Like if you have an E-League game within your studio, you've set up your company for at least over 5 to 10, 15 years of constant work where you're pumping out content for years on out. And I mean, look at WoW. I mean, WoW, World of Warcraft has been around for plus 15 years now, and that's honestly probably one of the biggest games that started this whole online gaming revolution.
That makes me feel so damn old. 15 years or maybe even more with that is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I've never gravitated toward that series, but like there are people to this day that just have been hooked, and and they still have more engagement as far as getting more and more new people to come to their game, which is awesome.
Well, and so right, I mean, like it's not that we're old. I mean, that's a fast, rapid development of these things and how fast they've grown in popularity. I don't think any other major sport to that realm has grown that fast. I mean, and what are these during these huge tournaments? These guys are making serious cash, serious coin.
Yeah, I mean, the only other sport that I can think that's been kind of comparable to this is, I guess, UFC, which is like literally killed boxing at this point. But yeah, It's crazy. I mean, I definitely.
What are these guys making when it comes to money? What does a top tournament pay out?
So I don't think it's so much about as it is in all sports. It's not so much about tournament payout as it is about sponsorships. And when you're getting big tech companies like Logitech or Microsoft or whatever backing you, I mean, you're making buku bucks at that point. It's, I mean, yeah, the tournaments are making several million here and there, but yeah, I mean the sponsorships alone, just like how it is in like golf or per se, or
sure.
Well, shit, Matt. Good thing we got our inside guy at EA to sponsor us, huh? Let's get going.
He's embedded, man.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing is I don't have to win. I just need a sponsor. Deal.
Just give me that sweet Sims money,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and technology is just itself. I mean, Matt and I both purchased the Oculus Go.
Nice.
Yeah, the little VR system. And the reason why we did is certain things on there was really, really done well. But we have to imagine that things like that are only getting just more and more sophisticated as time goes on. I mean, and it's kind of now getting to the point where all sporting events are starting to be filmed where you could be, at those games, quote unquote, live and sit courtside or, really you can even be at a hockey game and be like you're right up against the glass. I mean, now they're starting to get to that point. And, it's not video games that I'm talking about within that realm, but they do have the video games attached to that. And I would say actually video games within the VR world is more popular than just entertainment.
Oh, and you can see where that technology is going. That's only going to keep improving and improving.
Which is why I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, because eventually, man, that's where it's going.
To that Omni Room treadmill. Let's go.
See,
that's how you get fit, bro, in VR.
Don't work out, man.
But speaking of Oculus Go, yeah, I think we're 6 days away here from the next Oculus Quest release, which is the standalone mobile VR, which will actually operate wirelessly and will give you the untethered experience of what Oculus on PC will give you.
Wow.
But yeah, the thing is about VR is VR is such an interesting industry because it's a form factor that's still being defined, I feel. And even with AR, augmented reality, I really feel like that's the one that's really going to actually take away our phones, so to speak, and actually integrate it into, whether it be our glasses or our watches or whatnot, that actually will project holograms and do more or less what we see in like movies like Minority Report and stuff.
Tony Stark's glasses I've been waiting for quite some time.
Yes, like this whole like, I know like it's everyone's always got their phone in their hands, this and that, but I do feel like we are getting to a point in the next 5 to 10 years where that technology is going to have to be deprecated because AR is going to make a huge push in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes,
How do you
please.
feel like cryogenically freezing yourselves and being risen in like 500 years?
Yeah, right?
Walt Disney.
I could never forget that Family Guy episode.
Me neither. Are they gone? Are they gone yet? Nope. Put me back.
Are they gone yet? Put me back.
Horrible. Just horrible.
But so
hilarious. Yes.
That's why Family Guy's awesome, man. They're not racist. They make fun of everybody, so it's fun.
Well, it's also still reminds me of like Idiocracy, where just Costco owns everything.
Yeah.
You want your laundry? Go to Costco.
That's right. That's right. No, that reminds me too of it was so funny. I was listening to another podcast and they were saying, you know what the most appropriate like whiskey stones? You guys know what whiskey stones are, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
How appropriate would it be just to have like a clear whiskey stone with like a body in the middle of it, and it's just Walt Disney's body, and it's just a couple of whiskey stones that are like him, cryogenically frozen. I want that. If anybody's listening and they can get their hands on that,
yeah. Forget Han Solo and Carbonite. I want Walt Disney.
I want Walt Disney. I mean, I'll take Han Solo. I'm not.
You know what? I'll even take a Ted Williams frozen head in a whiskey block.
That would be great. That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. All right. Well, do you have anything to add? Kind of where the industry is going, or do you think that anything is coming down the pike that is kind of mind-blowing new technology other than what we already discussed, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. I want to say a couple weeks ago at Google's I/O event, they announced their new gaming platform, their big first step into gaming, which is streaming, if you will. And streaming, what that allows is players to not have any dependencies on their hardware anymore, where they're literally paying a subscription service and they can stream any game to whether it be their phone, tablet, TV, and literally experience the game at its highest value, whether it be 4K, whatever, HDR, Dolby Vision, whatever you want to call it. It will literally not be tethered to a device anymore, other than a device that actually picks up the signal of the stream. And I feel like that in itself is going to really awaken whether it be the Sony and the Microsofts or the Nintendos as to where do they stand on the future of their consoles, because as technology obviously continues to keep getting better and better, we might have a lesser dependency on actual hardware, and we have more freedoms with streaming. With that comes also the complaints of, I prefer to own physical copies of my games versus digital.
Over that, big time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely am still that player that loves, physical versions, whether it be, collectible steelbook cases or whatever it may be. But the convenience of streaming itself cannot be argued. It would be, I definitely feel like it would enhance the gaming experience. I just don't want it to replace what would be a, experience where you actually own the actual content that you're playing versus actually streaming and just paying for subscription service. I mean, we're entering a very interesting time here with all the Netflixes and the Hulus of the world. Which, I mean, the other news in today, Disney just acquired Hulu today.
Yes, they did. They fully acquired Hulu.
That's another big.
I hear that. I hear
capture
Hulu
there.
has live sports. That's the first
Hulu
time.
does have live sports. Yeah, they like to push that.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. I mean, I currently am a Hulu subscriber and have the cable package because to me, cable television is dead. Ever since Comcast lost its contractual rights to local sport broadcasting, I was like, okay, I am so done with cable and I am ready for internet streaming. So all I really depend on for them right now at this point is just internet service.
Okay, so within video games, you like to have a hard copy. How about like same thing within entertainment? Do you feel like you need like the Blu-ray copy of a movie that comes out that you really enjoy, or is that different? Like you could settle with a digital copy.
So, I mean, since I'm a collector, I like to collect stuff. I don't per se would just buy any standard Blu-ray. I typically look for the steelbooks, which are more of a collector's item, if you will.
Cool.
I mean, they're the metal cases that protect your media or whatever, and they look cool. They have cool art and whatnot on them. So, I mean, if there's a steelbook available, I'd much rather prefer to have the physical version. For that reason, you are still getting the digital version with that, which is another thing I think gaming needs to pick up on is when you buy a physical version of a game, they should entitle you to the digital version as well, just like the movie industry has for the past several years. That's a big gripe of mine because, I mean, it would be nice to have certain games on my PlayStation that I know I am going to play quite frequently installed onto my console, permanently versus something on disc where, it's a partial install and then I can just delete it after I'm done.
So did you see the new release of the 22 film Marvel set, First Saga, that is being released?
Ooh, so that got announced, huh?
It did get announced, and
man, I'm gonna be coming in.
So no price has been announced. It just said that the actual collection and everything is being now put together, but it's going to be coming out as a 22 movie set. And man, I gotta think it's going to be around the $500 range.
Yeah, easily.
Which I'm going to have a really hard time just not buying it. And I would say out of the 22 films, digitally, I own 16.
Yeah.
And I'm still probably going to spend the money and buy those.
Yeah.
Don't forget like something that comes along with it, like like a power ring, a decoder ring or something that comes out of the box.
Like the box of cereal box.
Well, I mean, they better give you the damn Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, that's what they better
Yeah,
give you.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want a mood ring.
More or less better be that. Exactly. Just the mood ring.
And then once I get the box, I'll tell you how I'm feeling.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty sad about this $500 purchase, but it looks awesome.
But yeah, it's turning green, so it looks like my mood's turning around. Yeah, so
pretty complacent. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm the same way that you are with video games that I am with actual movies. I do like to. I'm not as big as a collector as you are, but when it comes to certain films, I definitely like to have that hard copy too.
And honestly, I feel like it's a generational thing. I mean, we grew up during that era where you would collect games physically, right? Like, for kids nowadays that are in this era, it might not mean as much to them, so they're not going to have a problem with transferring over. Like it's literally the old timers that are going to have the biggest issue about it. But with that, it also goes to say that are you actually, when you pay digitally for a game, you don't actually own that game. You just own a license to download it. And at any point in time, the developer can revoke that from you if they really wanted to, versus physically owning it.
Streaming, is that similar to like how I can steal my buddy's Netflix or HBO, or people are going to be able to share their streaming gaming services together?
So, to answer that briefly, that cannot be done currently with like the PlayStation and the Xboxes. Steam has actual account sharing where you can log in and share your account with a friend, and they can play a game out of your library. And if you happen to want to play the same game when they're playing it, they'll get a notification saying, hey, the account owner or whatever wants to play this game and whatnot. So you'll either be, you'll either have a quick notification saying to, stop your session in the next 5 minutes before you get kicked out. But when it comes to console games, that doesn't exist. But the other thing too that not a lot of people know about is that even if you own a physical version of the game, the way the infrastructure of how games are made nowadays, they are so dependent on server connectivity that games do not work nowadays anymore without internet. So even as we were talking about physically owning just means you own a disc that gives you the base install for the game, but the game has to have a connection to the internet to actually run.
Yeah, here's your start menu, and that's about it.
Exactly. So, there's pros and cons there, but
that's why I hung on to my Xbox 360 for a hot minute to play Left 4 Dead for every once in a while. It didn't have to be connected to the internet; just plug it right in and go.
Sometimes you just feel like slaying some zombies. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, that the benefits of those games being constantly needing a connection to the internet has to deal a lot with, we're now not in a day and age anymore where a game comes out and that is the last version of that game. Like, games are a live service now. Games are constantly being patched. They're being bug fixed. They're being updated, whether it be daily or, weekly or monthly or whatever the cadence may be. They're literally not this, when a game launches, it is not what it was on day one when it is 3 years after or whatever. Like, they have plans to support games for years on out.
The most recent game or series of games that I've picked up on were the new Tomb Raider games. Yeah, and it felt like you would get an update for it quite often enough. I mean, they were all fine updates, but these things, you're right. These things are just live beings themselves.
Yeah. And the benefits of streaming in itself in that regard is that a player doesn't have to actually do any live updates in their game anymore if they're streaming the experience, because that actual game is running off a server, let's say in Utah somewhere. And guess what? While you haven't been playing that game, it's been updating itself, by itself, due to the developer releasing the latest patch. It's not dependent on the user logging in anymore and applying that fix or that latest patch to the game. It'll already be updated for you, and there won't be any waiting anymore as far as loading or waiting for something to install, which is awesome.
Yeah, I have zero complaints in that. That is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome, right? But then it also goes down to, I don't actually physically own the game, but I'm paying for subscription service, so that's cool. I mean, I'm all about convenience, but it's interesting to see where they're going to go with it.
Any hacking issues the gaming industry has had at all? I'm only asking because I haven't heard. I've heard of other things being hacked. Has the gaming industry been pretty good with their security?
Oh yeah. There's hackers. The thing about what thing that's neat about Steam is that Steam has a lot of since their games are released and it's available to players to literally go through and parse through the source code, that they can start modding the game, since PC is a more of an open source platform versus console. But yeah, I mean, even for the game I was mentioning earlier, Apex Legends, they already were having issues with with cheaters, and whether or not they had properly planned for that. So there was a little bit of an issue with that, and I think they're might be at the end of figuring that mess out. But it was a good maybe 3 to 4 weeks there where they had issues with cheaters, and that happens with any type of online PC game. It's just whether or not you have an infrastructure in place that can account and can actually can actually respond to that type of stuff. Like
Yeah, and just like
live
anything
service
else,
games
right?
do.
I mean, people who do that, all of a sudden they show their hand. So yeah, it sucks that they're doing it, but it's also not going to happen the same way once it does happen the first time, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sooner or later, once they get some network engineer looking at it or whatever, they're going to be able to trace down, oh, this person was spoofing their IP address, in a third world country per se or whatever, and that they were applying these cheater rules to the game, and because of that, they were getting nothing but headshots in this game. It's just something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's literally having a team and an infrastructure in place where you are able to attack those issues early on as they happen, or if you actually plan for it beforehand. And that's something that I think every team tries to do, is more so, like even for our game in The Sims, we try to account for these types of issues that players might encounter early on. Let's say for The Sims and whatnot. I think for the mobile game, we had an issue where, one of our character sims we had an internal bug where they would suddenly appear, buck ass nude in the game, and we had to try to figure out like what exactly broke these assets from appearing, and luckily that never went live because that was a game that was heavily, that was a sim that was heavily tied to our monetization. So like this was a sim that was actually trying to get you to purchase something. So like that would have been huge to like our whole, monetization model of like, oh my God, it's like we have a bug that's like actually like freaking out players, because the thing is I think the sim was a male sim, but because of the way it was set up, it had female parts. So it obviously looked transgender, which is fine, but it could be jarring to some people, and
well, sure, and there's kids playing and everything else.
Yeah, they're just trying to raise.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. Okay, it was me. It was me the whole time. That was me running around. I give up. Well, that's great. Okay, well, if you guys don't mind, we're gonna kind of go into the next segment, if that's cool. Are you guys all right with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have any further questions.
Perfect. Well, Mike, thanks for that information on that. But now we're going to be diving into upcoming DC films. We're going to just kind of run through a few movies within DC, a few movies in Marvel, and we're just going to tell you kind of what's coming up, what I'm excited about, maybe some questions that we have that we can talk a little bit back and forth about individual characters and movies. The first one that I would say the most pumped out about is the new Joker movie, which is coming out October 4th of this year, directed by Todd Phillips. Anybody who looks up Todd Phillips, by the way, on IMDb, he's known for A Star is Born, which just came out and was a huge success. The Hangover trilogy, which for the most part is pretty damn funny, right? And one of my personal favorites, Old School, and many, many more. But those are just some ones that are obviously very, very well known, that if you needed to put a kind of a name to who he is, that's what he's done thus far. Mike,
I know that we'll go into the Joker as more information comes out. I am also very excited about it. I can't wait for another trailer to come out. But just looking at those titles alone, I'm fascinated to see how it is, because two of those are, well, the Hangover trilogy is a 3-set movie, but those are comedies. And recently you've seen, look at what's his name, the guy who did like Step Brothers, McKay. First on his first name, but then he went and did 2 other serious movies, and so I'm excited to see this guy go into the realm of not just I don't think the Joker is going to be a scary movie at all, but like just a psychological movie. I'm very excited for this movie as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be scary in the fact that it is so psychological, which brings its own element of fear. Maybe not, jump behind a corner or be hunted down kind of fear, but I think it's going to be just so crazy and so mentally just stimulating for people that alone is going to freak people out. Kind of like Requiem for a Dream. Like that movie for me was just so mentally disturbing that it freaked me out. Sure. So I'm very excited about this movie. The first trailer that dropped, Joaquin Phoenix looks like he's just acting his ass off and looks really incredible to the character he's playing. Mike, did you get a chance to watch that trailer?
Oh my heavens, yes. And let me just say, like, when I first heard that he was going to play the Joker, at first I'm thinking, interesting. That is a very bold pick, but Joaquin Phoenix is literally a method actor, and after seeing that first trailer, my God, like, he definitely looks like he lost himself in this role, maybe as much as Heath Ledger did. And
yeah, agreed.
I really feel like I know that this is going to not be a part of the actual DC universe that they've already kind of set up and torn down and set up again. This is going to be a separate universe.
Yep.
So
completely different adaptation of the Joker.
I totally feel, I love the feel of that trailer. It felt very, very, it felt very eerie in some regard, and it felt, yes, it was almost off-putting because it was a little bit like disturbing.
I mean, come on, the guy puts his hands in a child's mouth and lifts it up for him to smile.
Yes. And that's the Joker, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, nobody's gonna be able to. I mean, Heath Ledger, rest in peace, did it similarly. Like, yeah, everybody was like, "What an interesting choice of an actor." I can't believe they're going this direction, and then just blew our socks off. Joaquin is definitely. He feels like, to a degree, was almost semi-meant for this in that realm of he's played these kind of jarring characters before. The way that Jared Leto just wasn't, just felt flat from the beginning. And it's really just in the style of the way this trailer came out. I mean, the filming of it, the cinematography of it looks just terrific. And I'm excited to see another version of this trailer come out. And I hope they don't give you a lot, because this is an origin story to a degree. But this is the first true Joker origin story that we've ever really gotten. So
for me, the spawning of a Joker, I want to say, trilogy, where it actually is like Joker Begins, where Batman Begins was centered around the hero, and we could literally have several movies centered around the villain, and then we're literally talking about who are they going to pick for Batman to be introduced at some point, because the way that this feels, it feels very, very similar to like Batman Begins in that origin sense.
Right, so it's like gonna be like a good cop that he has to overcome as like the antagonist somehow.
Yeah, and I really hope there's no push for DC to merge this universe with any of the other
I don't think there will be.
They have right now. I hope they literally just set this up and let this kind of become its own thing.
Well, the only one
see where it goes.
We're about to say that too, Ryan, is that I could see them right away wanting to merge it with that Birds of Prey movie.
To a point, but that's again, that's technically a different universe. It's technically a different Joker. Well,
again, with it, depending on how successful this thing feels, because I mean, with all these DC movies coming out, I mean, like, we'll have to see, because they're doing a lot within the same DC universe, but separately at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, we got Birds of Prey, Batman, Suicide Squad. These movies are all within the same DC universe, but how are they going to be able to keep things separate? If this movie does so well, why wouldn't you try to blend it in?
Sure, and they might try, but if I were them, if they were smart, like Mike said, from my own personal belief, keep it as separate as possible. And just
if I were them, if they were smart,
and the last thing on that one, because the next actual film was Birds of Prey, but I gotta say, one of my favorite parts of the Joker is the score itself. I think the cinematography on it, just within even the trailer, was so beautifully shot, and so different.
Give me chills. I love it when they take a super super sincere, down to heart song like that, and then they put disturbing imagery behind it. It's haunting.
I love it.
It's really great.
I love it. Well, So, okay. So next one, like Matt, you said, Birds of Prey. That one is actually coming out February 7th, 2020. And now the director of this one is, I don't want to butcher her last name, Kathy Yan, or Yan. Again, sorry if I butchered it, but regardless, I didn't find a lot that she did that would be big movies per se.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I kind of liked that. I like seeing new either writers, directors, producers come in with a fresh take on things. And really, that's how people make a name for themselves anyway. Nobody's just popular from the get-go. So you got to give these people an opportunity to prove themselves. And I think that's what she's undertaking is a pretty big responsibility on now taking these characters, which I think the only one that we've seen thus far is just going to be Harley Quinn, which is Margot Robbie still playing that role. And then the rest of the cast is going to be all brand new characters to now bring into this universe. So it's a big undertaking for a first-time director within this genre. But again, that movie, I'm so-so on that one. I'm obviously going to see all of these movies, but if I had to rank it, it's probably still not in my top 5, to be honest.
What is Birds of Prey comprised of? It's is it Harley Quinn and who? And Joker?
No. So
No.
Birds of Prey is very interesting in the fact that it's going to be all women superheroes. Well,
okay.
I shouldn't say superheroes. They're kind of they're all villains.
Anti-heroes. Anti-heroes?
Anti? Yeah. So let's see. You got Harley Quinn, right? Which is played by Margot Robbie. Black Canary, which if anybody actually watches any of the shows on like Arrow on CW, you'll see Black Canary on there. The Huntress is one of them.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with some of these characters because, Mortal Kombat, in between making Mortal Kombat, NetherRealm also makes the Injustice series. So some of these characters are actually in their games for fighting.
Yeah, so it's going to be, again, these are all brand new characters to the big screen, and it's a big undertaking for anybody. So it'll be very interesting to see how she does. I'm rooting for her big time. I hope it's a great movie. It's definitely something fresh that we have really not seen at all. Again, it's really diving more and more into these villain-based movies that people want to see. I think people are kind of getting tired of the, I'm the good guy, I fight the bad guy, I win, movie over. It's just a kind of a different spin on things to get people kind of shaken up and into a different mindset, which I like that part of it for sure. The next movie, and this one's very interesting to me the more I research it, but it's Wonder Woman 1984. That movie is coming out June 5th, 2020. We got the same director, Patty Jenkins. She's obviously, like I said, she's known for Wonder Woman. Anybody who's ever watched Arrested Development, she's known for that as well. She did a movie called Monster, and she did a show called The Killing. And then she's
also known for Arrested Development, the Russo brothers.
Yes, they have that connection in common. Yes. So, and wouldn't it be great if she threw maybe like something from Arrested Development, just like the Russo brothers did, into this movie? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I would love to see a Never Nude in this. That'd be awesome.
Just a blue man in the back.
Yeah. Now, have you guys actually done any research on this movie? Because it's very interesting to see.
Chris Pine's character's in.
Chris Pine's character is in this, which is,
interesting.
It's very interesting, and I'm very hesitant to like that so far, just because anything that's, maybe he got brought back from magic or the explosion caused some kind of power in itself where he was able to survive the big plane crash. Whatever they do.
Situation where he was saved somehow and then cryogenically frozen with a super sweet arm with super serum.
Yeah, it could be just over the top. No, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do to bring Chris Pine's character back. Steve Trevor is his character name, right? And it's going to be interesting to see it take place now in the 80s. So, Patty Jenkins already said one of the biggest thing for them is going to be the score in the movie is going to be much brighter than the last one. And obviously the last one took place where it was during big time wars, so you couldn't really make it as bright and colorful because it was a dark time. This one being in the 80s is a perfect opportunity to kind of liven it up a little bit, add some of those fun colors, have some Paula Abdul, opposites attract in the background on some TVs.
70s, I don't have to deal with cocaine as much.
Yeah, it was a great time. So it'll be very interesting to see this movie, but I'm excited. I have zero reason to not be excited for this movie because of how much I enjoyed the first one. Did you guys, do you agree with that, or do you guys have your reservations about it?
Oh yeah, I feel like the first movie, was a huge surprise. To take Wonder Woman, who is such an iconic character and has never really translated very well in live action, was really, really cool to see. I do feel for this movie though. I feel like they're taking a little bit of a risk, but if this pays off, wow! Like I will be stunned again because they casted Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, and
Right.
Kristen Wiig to me, I mean, I mean, she's awesome. She's fantastic. I can actually see her pulling this off, but just for me, just from seeing her so many years on SNL, it's just not going to. It's going to be hard in the beginning of it's going to take at least 5 minutes in that film before I actually can set in stone of okay, all right, she's playing the villain here. I wonder how they're going to set up her, set up her character to be okay, this is someone we don't want to screw around with.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
You're going to see her and you're just going to start laughing.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, she's gonna have to come out and just do something and be like, damn, that was disgusting evil. Wow.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig, you're
And
crazy.
kudos to her. She must have done something amazing in her audition to have Patty Jenkins pick her because, yeah, I mean,
Apparently, Patty Jenkins said in her portrayal of this character, she is unbelievable.
which is awesome to hear.
The words of confidence make me very excited to see her in a brand new role like this and branching out of the comedy realm. And they're going to throw little spurts of comedy in because just like Marvel does and what we've touched on other podcasts is successful movies are going to have a wide range of emotions, but you got to have the comedy element within a point to make it full circle. So, they're going to throw her.
Sure. But a lot of the comedy comes from the hero, not the villain. But,
but things are changing too within that realm.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm excited about this movie. My reservations also stem from the first Wonder Woman. I think they killed off their best main villain too soon. For me, it's gonna be all about the story. What's their storyline? Are they like Aquaman in past? Are you even gonna reference things like the Justice League from before? Are you gonna? Is this? I don't know. It's story for me. What universe are you playing yourself into?
I mean, if they play their cards right, they should just focus on the character development of just her, Wonder Woman alone. Because that's what Marvel did so well before they even entertained the thought of we're really gonna have an Avengers movie. The DC universe did not have enough time. It was totally rushed, and it was just. I mean, it was a shit show. I mean, it's just to say the least. But hopefully they just focus on just building her character and making it literally what they first did with Tony Stark. He was the center of that universe.
No, totally. Because again, what is the universe you're playing into? And I know Ron, you're about to mention it, but the Batman movie. Are you trying to continue on with this possible great Joker movie, great second Wonder Woman movie? I mean, again, I don't know what DC is doing to build their universe if they're trying to keep everything separate.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly what they're doing, but I also think that they're learning from their mistakes. Marvel, obviously, I don't want to say they got lucky. They had a lot of knowledgeable, talented people do a lot of their work. Yeah, but DC, they just went about it the wrong way. I mean, they tried to shove everything in our face. They didn't give us all the individual stories like Marvel did to, bring it to this huge climactic moment like any of the Avengers movies. And it bombed and it didn't do well. So now going forward, I think that's kind of what they're trying to do. And it's hard to retcon those kind of things and just be like, okay, those never happened. Moving on to these new characters and let's see if we can start them fresh, but then now lead into the ones that did work. And that's a tough thing to do. But again, I think when people get these new movies, they have a really short-term memory with the past movies because those ones were so horrible. They're kind of looking forward to something else and different that they just are ready to accept anything. So, and that's just my take on it. But yeah, going into Batman, and this one could be pushed back. So because Ben Affleck was originally going to be the Batman, which is the actual movie name is just The Batman, which was originally said it was going to release June 25th, 2021. It's still apparently going to be directed by Matt Reeves. So he's known for, any of the Planet of the Apes movies. Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Let Me In, which is a great one, and any of the Cloverfield movies. And again, I'm not rattling off a lot, but again, well-known movies that have done really, really well. to make a name for himself. So very, very talented director, somebody who I actually really enjoy. So I have all the confidence in him. Now it's just a matter of fact, who they're going to get in to play that role. Do you guys have anybody on the top of your head just for fun who you guys would think would make a good next Bruce Wayne? And I say Bruce Wayne because anybody could be Batman. You throw a mask and a cool suit on anybody, it's going to be somewhat cool while they're in there. But the big challenge is finding Bruce Wayne. Who can be the $1 million pretend asshole who can go around fooling everybody, but then, at night or whenever, be able to throw the cape on and go, kick some ass. I mean, that's a tough role to fill.
Well, it depends on what age they're going for Bruce.
Hopefully pretty young.
If they're going young, man, I don't know. I feel like it's not gonna be somebody that I would extremely expect, like an Armie Hammer who's gone for that role in the beginning. I could see somebody, the actor who plays somebody like Rob Stark. That sort of character that is kind of off-brand, but would probably play that cocky-ass character very well.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. How about you, Mike? Do you have anybody on the top of your head?
That's a tough one. I kind of want to go with someone that is not so well known,
Right.
just due to the fact that you'll be able to attach with the character much easier. I mean, Christian Bale was a great pick just due to the fact that he wasn't really super well known before that casting, and I feel like that translated pretty well. But if I had to pick, I mean,
You didn't see Newsies? What?
yeah, right. No, I mean, I saw Empire of the Sun when he was a kid, and American Psycho. My God, he was that to me. That's what launched him. That's probably
The
what.
Machinist?
God, yeah, dude, it's hard to believe that the Machinist was filmed in between.
I know, what a psychopath.
Between the Dark Knight and unbelievable.
Yeah, the body transformation is unreal. Yeah, I would have to agree, Matt. And I think that Richard Madden would be a pretty good choice. But, like I said, he's in a Marvel movie called The Eternals that's coming out.
Is that Jolie? Angelina Jolie joined him in that movie?
Angelina Jolie is in that cast. It's that one, which we'll dive into a little later, is one of the most interesting cast selections that I've really ever seen.
Hey, you gotta trust Marvel, though.
You gotta trust Marvel, but you're looking at Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, the guy from, and I will for sure butcher his name, but the guy who is from Silicon Valley. What's his name?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I
forget his name.
Man, it's like Nanjiani, like his last name, or something like that. Anyway, like Kumail. Is it Kumail or Kamal? Something like that.
The character? Or the any guy?
Yeah, he is hysterical. He's in it. And then what's his name? Dong Siak Mao. And I don't know if you guys have heard of him at all, but he's another guy that's going to be in there. Anyway, it's an incredible cast. But yeah, man, I'd have to agree with you. I would say my best pick would be him, just because one, he's young, but if you look at him too, he kind of has that young swagger that I think would be a good Bruce Wayne. I mean,
he's coming up in a new Elton John movie, Rocket Man, as the kind of like bad manager, and even that like kind of asshole character he already plays well, and I would love to see that in a Bruce Wayne character for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That'd be awesome. What about that main guy, that British guy who's actually playing Elton John? He could be a young Bruce Wayne.
Who did like the Kingsman?
Who did all the Kingsmen? Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either. I mean, he's already proven himself to be quite the action star and somebody who can, dress up well in a suit.
I think he's just a little too short, and I know that's
there's something about his look. And he doesn't. I agree. I know where you're coming from, but I'm gonna go. Yeah, you're right. A little bit too short.
Come on, if you can make Arnold Schwarzenegger look 6'4", just point the camera up, man.
I got one guy here that might be something to think about, and I just found it on the internet here. And I don't know if you know that his actor's name is Nicholas Hoult, and he is the guy that plays Hank McCoy, the Beast, in the X-Men movies.
Yeah,
and he was also featured in Mad Max. He was one of the War Boys.
That's right.
He shows that he's got some dynamics to him that might be worth exploring.
It's true, because
he definitely.
The original Batman was Michael Keaton, and he didn't really portray. Because, like I said, anybody looks good in that cowl, but it really does take that true, like, you got to be Bruce Wayne. And yeah, actually, I don't mind that pick either. It does sound good.
Yeah, that's a great pick, actually. That's a really great pick. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Although I did kind of see him too as like the next James Bond character as well. That was who my pick was after Daniel Craig. I think he'd be a great young Bond. But
I think people are still pulling for Tom Hiddleston and Idris Elba, but we'll see.
We'll see. I guess Daniel Craig just went off set during his filming just this week from a serious injury, so we'll see what happens.
Oh no.
Yeah, so maybe push back a little bit, but we'll see. Anyway, leading into the next one, we got The Suicide Squad. Anybody who's familiar with the last one, it was just called Suicide Squad, so this is now, I believe it's retconning the old one, so it's kind of like it didn't exist to a point, but now we have director James Gunn, who is very well known, obviously, for Guardians of the Galaxy within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Pardon?
Is he directing or just producing?
Directing.
He's directing.
He literally, DC was able to snag him after the whole kerfluffle with the whole sexual, I guess the tweets that he got, canned for.
Yeah.
I actually think that the hiring of James Gunn from DC was actually the reason why he got hired back with Marvel. Not only did Marvel say that he responded really well to everything, and he handled himself like an adult and very respectful towards what he did, and he apologized, but I think it was kind of like checking how people's response was when he actually got hired, almost like a little toe in the water, being like, okay, so he's not in the Marvel universe, but he is directing again. How do we feel about it? Nobody had any complaints or reservations about it, and I think from that point, people were feeling, at Disney at least, feeling probably a little more confident on bringing him back. And obviously, it was his script anyway for the next volume of Guardians, so it only made sense. Nobody wanted that job anyway.
Yeah, and not to mention, Disney is literally letting them go to the dark side, to DC. So, they literally had to, the cast themselves almost had a mutiny with actually bringing Gunn back. Dave Bautista.
He was the most passionate.
Most passionate online through social media. Like, he was literally going to say he was not going to be in Guardians 3 just because of that.
Well, since they dumped both him and the script all at once, it was just like, I don't know what exactly Disney's plan was there, but they got extreme backlash from everybody.
Yeah. So diving into the characters of this one too. So we're still getting Margot Robbie. She's still going to be Harley Quinn. We have Joel Kinnaman, who's still playing Rick Flag. So if anybody saw, again, the original, he played Rick Flag, and he was awesome. I actually really like Joel Kinnaman. He was in The Killing, which was done by Patty Jenkins in that series, and he was excellent as a detective in that one. One of my favorite shows actually at the time. And then we have
the reboot for RoboCop.
Correct, which was pretty good. I mean, nothing's better than the original in my opinion, but it was still entertaining.
No, I mean, the actor himself is fine. I just didn't feel like the movie's tone was anywhere near the original.
Yeah. Now, correct me. Again, I'm just horrible with names, so nobody judge me, or judge me. I don't really care. But Idris Elba?
Yep.
Okay, nailed it.
That's it.
Okay, great. Yes, I did it. Yeah, fuck all of you. No, I'm just kidding. So he's in it. And obviously he's been just blowing up, right? I mean, he's now in the new movie coming out for
is he Deadshot?
No.
No.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
He's in that new Hobbs and Shaw movie, right? Yep. He obviously did all those roles within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then was killed off in Infinity War in the very beginning of the movie. So he's done really, really well for himself. But he's in this, and on IMDb, he's just an unnamed person as of right now. And then, we have this guy. His name is David Dastmalchian, and I probably butchered that too, but if you guys don't know who he is, he was in Batman, I believe it was Dark Knight, and he actually was one of Joker's henchmen. He was actually in the crowd dressed up as the cop when they went and shot Gordon in the crowd.
Yep.
He was also in Ant-Man as one of the criminal people that worked for Scott Lang within the security. He was
one of his buddies.
he's one of his buddies. He's in it. He's an amazing actor. He plays a great creep, but he's very talented in the sense, or in Ant-Man, he was just a very pleasant, funny character. So he is a
right, yeah,
wide range. But somebody I actually mentioned in the last podcast, he's playing a character called Polka Dot Man. And if anybody's ever researched Polka Dot Man, again, the picture of Polka Dot Man from the old comics is hysterical. And it's this guy, and he has a big gap in between his teeth, and he's wearing this huge white like leotard with all these colored circles on him, or polka dots, excuse me. And then he has this funky little white mask, and his superpower is literally pulling those circles on his body and turning them into weapons. So again, James Gunn is trying to take characters just like he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, which wasn't a huge known comic series. I mean, definitely there was those people who were fans, but you know, they weren't something that was obviously around when we were kids on shows or anything like that. Like we saw the Justice League and all these other shows that were around, you know, in that time. But he's taking all these characters that we don't know about, and he's bringing them to life, and which I think is a very smart, intelligent thing to do, to give us all something super fresh, and then open the door to a ton of other characters to play off even those ones. So
that name is not easy to say whatsoever.
No, it's not. And again,
Dosmalchin? Is that it? Dosmalchin?
Yeah, that's we'll just say
we'll go with that.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, John Cena is in this one. Viola Davis is back in this one.
IMDb currently doesn't have a listing for Deadshot, so let's just say Idris Elba's Deadshot.
Come on. I would like to think that he is Deadshot, but I guess a lot of people are having a hard time wanting to do that role out of respect for Will Smith.
Out of respect for Will Smith, huh?
Because apparently, I guess he wanted. I think he wanted that role back. To be honest,
he did, and then I heard there was some announcement saying that they were just not going to go with him.
And because he said that, people didn't want to just jump in and grab it from him. So I think they had a really hard time casting. Now, if it is him that's taking Deadshot, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with it at the end of the day. I think that would be an awesome fit, actually. I'd be super pumped to see him take that role on.
Nice. I just found an article saying that, it says as of March 8th, this article said that Idris Elba went in the running as entered talks to replace Smith. So
cool.
I hope that's the case. That's
Me too.
An awesome pick.
Yeah, me too. I'd be happy with it. Okay, moving on. I'm just going to rattle these ones off. We're going to move right through DC. These ones are so in the future right now that one of them has a date to it, and then the other ones, they don't even have it. It's all to be decided. So next one with the date for DC is Aquaman 2, which is December 16th, 2022. Not even actually a picked director on this one yet.
We talked about earlier. Their director's busy with Mortal Kombat, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to be fair, he's only producing. He is not actually directing it.
Oh,
no! God damn it! I quit.
Yeah,
no excuses, man.
But I mean, for what it is, they are filming that movie in Australia, where James Bond lives. So it is in his homeland. So he should be on site.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that. They may have a different director, but it's probably James Wan. And he's the one who directed Aquaman, you know, obviously the first one. So I don't know. I think he'll probably do the second, or at least, you know, have some input on what's going on within that. But the next one is the Flash movie. And there's a lot of things going on with there where that Ezra Miller is not even officially the Flash. Been a lot of talk within the script and guidelines of the movie, and there's just certain things that people are not happy with, and they haven't even came up with an agreement whether or not he's actually going to take on that role again. So that movie could be postponed for quite some time until they fill that role, which I'm okay with, because I actually wasn't a huge fan. I watched the show on the CW, The Flash, and I like Grant Gustin better than him, so I wouldn't mind having somebody else in there regardless. Next one is Batgirl, which I'm actually super pumped about. I think that one's going to be cool. The one after that is Green Lantern, and then another movie that's supposedly coming out called The New Gods. Now, I don't have a lot of information on The New Gods. That's for a later podcast, but that's what we got going so far within DC. So from now all the way towards probably 2023. So a lot of stuff coming out in the next few years, which is good for them.
Talk about.
Yeah, I wish him all the luck in the world. I really do. I hope DC turns it around. All right, so going into my favorite segment, which is Marvel films, and I'm very biased towards Marvel, but that's okay. First one we're going to touch on, just because of dates alone, is X-Men: Dark Phoenix, which is coming out June 7th this year, 2019. Directed by Simon Kinberg, known for films as The Martian, Logan, Fantastic Four, the show The Gifted, which lasted only just a couple seasons. Producer both on Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2. He did Jumper. He was the creator of the new Twilight Zone, or co-creator. This guy has done a ton. So
well, and like we were talking about before, I don't want to go too deep into dive on this one because I want to save this one for a future podcast here coming up soon, because I think the X-Men universe has a lot of history and a lot going forward. But I am personally excited to see this movie. I'm fascinated to see how it wraps up its own little mini universe before it takes on whatever Disney has planned for it. I probably will be seeing this one in the theaters, and I think from the trailers that's come out, I think it looks like it has a great story comparatively to where they've done previous iterations of the Phoenix character itself. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I think they gave away a little too much in the trailer for my liking. But again, I'm picky with that kind of stuff. But you know, and actually for anybody who's listening, we're actually going to be dropping the next week's podcast. It's going to be all about kind of where X-Men started and to where X-Men is now going, and our guesses of what's going to be coming in and when it's going to be coming in into the Marvel Cinematic Universe now that it is officially owned by Disney. So
yeah, that one's got a lot going on.
It's got a lot going on. Mike, what do you think about the new X-Men movie?
It's going to be a nice little send off there for who was it? Fox? Yeah, Fox, the merger with Disney. This is literally X-Men, the last Fox X-Men movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home definitely alluded to the whole multiverse stuff. So I hope that implies at some point, I don't know if it's per se we're going to get this current bunch of X-Men, or if they're going to pick and choose certain characters. But maybe more or less that was more towards whatever they plan to do with Deadpool. Since he seems to be the more relevant mutant right now.
Sure.
They could totally, I mean, I don't feel like they really need to, I mean, since Hugh Jackman's kind of hung up the cape, so to speak, I don't really feel like they need to merge that universe with Marvel, but if they want to start bringing in X-Men, I'm totally for it.
I'd be down for a Fantastic Four well over X-Men, but that's my personal bias.
They have got to get Fantastic Four right.
Get that Baxter building up, man.
The fact that Fantastic Four had nothing to do with the MCU, is just a huge disservice to Marvel, like the whole old school Marvel comics.
Agreed.
I think they will, because I think whatever Marvel does, it comes down to the track record of these studios, and Marvel has an excellent track record, not only with character development but casting, and like we said before, being patient with it. Even if they take a risk on a script or a director, they're willing to play that into future movies, and I think that Kevin Feige will have that sort of patience and willingness to do it right and not rush these sort of things. Yeah. So that is certainly a hope, and I have faith in it for sure.
I really feel that the sequel to Doctor Strange will open the door for some type of introduction to Fantastic Four, whether it be through Galactus, just introducing.
Just give me a Silver Surfer, man.
Yes, exactly. Try to connect with that character so that they can just jump forth into the Fantastic Four.
Because as soon as you get a Silver Surfer character in there, that already implies Galactus, and then you're set.
Yep.
Well,
and I'm hoping that's our new Thanos.
Yep,
and
me too.
I was hoping even in this, and it might come up in Spider-Man Far From Home, because all you have to do is say the word mutant, and all of a sudden you have something. All you have to do is say the word, negative zone that the Fantastic Four are in, and you got the Fantastic Four. All you have to do is show a B in Baxter, and you can start developing these characters. And I think that's where Far From Home is going to come with. The way that, this multiverse.
Did we lose you, Matt?
For 1 second. Go ahead with it, guys.
No, so I agree. I mean, all you have to do is show, a B on the building, and Spider-Man Far From Home, which is our next one. which is coming out June 2nd of this year, you can clearly see that when Spider-Man is, swinging through the city, you see the old Avengers Tower behind him under construction, which is obviously got a lot of people thinking it's either one or two things. It's either going to be the Baxter Building, which is going to then introduce the Fantastic Four, or you're going to see an Oscorp building. I think personally it's going to be Oscorp. I don't think they're going to just immediately give us that just because they're going to take their sweet ass time with it, which is fine. If they perfect it, then I don't care.
I gotta be honest. When you diagnose too much, just because the villain in that movie is Mysterio, I don't feel like you can take anything for truth in that trailer, because that is literally like he is the master of illusion. Like what you're
deception.
seeing, can totally be absolutely fake. So
absolutely. But also,
I'm totally psyched for that movie.
Me too. Super pumped.
Taking characters in other directions too, like we just saw in the Kree war, where the Kree were supposed to be bad, but they ended up not being bad. So I could see Marvel playing with it a little bit. And if you're going to go multiple dimensions, maybe there are multiple Spider-Mans and multiple versions of Mysterio that are good and bad.
Ooh, which brings up what I was going to just talk about, which is very, very good. That's actually my theory in it. I think there's going to be a good Mysterio and a bad one. I think we're going to see the good Mysterio at first, and I think we're going to see the bad Mysterio orchestrating everything. The good Mysterio, I think, is going to be killed off, and then that's going to be the new antagonist for Spider-Man. Or, it's leading up to a Sinister Six is what it's leading it up to. And we're going to see all these characters that now have been introduced so far, like Scorpion, and now it's going to be Mysterio. And we're going to see all these, not Falcon. What's his name? I'm blanking on it.
The bad guy.
Vulture.
Thank you, Vulture.
Yeah, Vulture.
Too many hard ciders, guys. We're gonna see
in Homecoming we had Shocker too, right?
Shocker. We had two different Shockers, right? Because he blew one of them away. But
we just
thought
didn't
it was the
have
gravity gun.
Electro and who's the other one? Rhino.
Yeah, so it's leading up to a Sinister Six eventually. I mean, it has to. I mean, that's what it's going to be, and that's going to be a cool story as itself. But Spider-Man: Far From Home. Very pumped to see that one, just because obviously post Endgame now they can really play into that. I mean, we can see the evolution of just not even him as Spider-Man, but just him as the character itself, as Peter Parker, having to really grow up a lot more than he already had to. Now feeling like he has to fill in for Tony Stark, which will be interesting. I think obviously I have all the confidence in the world that it's going to be an amazing movie, but I'm just very, very pumped. Next movie is the one we were just talking about not too long ago, Eternals. These are all approximate dates. So again, these can be totally shifted around, but right now this is setting to be coming out approximately 2020. Anytime, obviously, within that year. Again, I want to do my own research, but as we get closer to these, obviously down the road, I'll do enough research and send it out to everybody, and we can start breaking those characters down and kind of move into that. Do you guys know anything about the Eternals, other than they're immortal beings that live on forever? And I mean, do you have any breakdowns?
I think there might be some mention here with Thanos, right? Because I believe he's kind of part of this, because this covers. Maybe where he came from in the universe.
So I believe he was born from an Eternal.
Yeah.
And I believe, wasn't he like I don't want to say he had birth defects, but wasn't he different than obviously others because of that?
Yeah, I believe
that's a recent incarnation of Thanos. That comic book only came out maybe like 8 years ago. But yes, it is true. It wasn't Peter Quill's dad in Eternal. Or is it Celestial?
He was a Celestial, yeah.
It'll be interesting because Marvel has come out and said that they don't plan to announce their MCU Universe 2 plans until Spider-Man: Far From Home comes out. So it's hard to say whether or not, like, if they're gonna go the approach of like maybe this is just a one-off, like if they're gonna go the multiverse route, like this movie exists in its own world.
Right.
So I'm gonna read this just a little bit, just from what I see online. It says the Eternals are a fictional species of humanity appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. They are described as an offshoot of the evolutionary process that created sentient life on Earth. The original instigators of this process, the alien Celestials, intended the Eternals to be the defenders of Earth, which leads to the inevitable of war against their destructive counterparts, the Deviants. So, again, a lot of information there that I'm not even fully processing because I don't know like who the Deviants are or any of them. But
go for it, man. I mean, a lot of people didn't know too much about Guardians of the Galaxy before that came out. So, like, this sounds like another world that they could just really explore.
Which, again, taking characters that a lot of people aren't familiar with and bringing them to life is what it's all about, right?
There's a plethora of that on the Marvel side. Absolutely.
Yes, there is. So the next one is the new Black Widow movie. So again, that's another approximate 2020. This is going to be a prequel, most likely, obviously, to Endgame.
This is fan service. That's what this is. This is
total fan service.
This is fan service for, hey, we're looking at 2-3 years after Endgame and we're getting a little depressed. We haven't seen any of our original characters, and obviously they'll probably have, the Budapest confrontation.
I agree. Yeah, they'll show that.
You're not taking Black Widow character. It's not like she's passing on the man anytime like a Captain America can or an Iron Man can. She's done.
Yep. So that'll be entertaining enough. I mean, we'll see her origin a little bit, and I have to imagine there's going to be flashbacks of young her, and then more her age now, when she's actually working with Clint Barton and doing all those side missions. But I'm in. I'm down to see that as long as they make it appropriately dark. Her story out of anybody is very dark. So
yeah, it honestly should be rated R.
It should be. Just the mental things alone of what she had to go through to break this character down is rated R. Yep. So hopefully they do it right. I don't want to see them weaken that by any means, but again, I don't. Also, other than Deadpool, I don't see a lot of these movies being rated R just because it is Disney. So Deadpool's in its own category because it's done so well for itself. They are smart enough to leave those alone, so they're not going to touch those. Next one is Black Panther 2, which is now approximately 2021, directed by the same director, Ryan Coogler. Obviously, this movie it won an Oscar. This movie is going to probably be one of the more anticipated movies that comes out within that year and time frame.
Oh yeah. Between Spider-Man and this one, this is going to set up for sure whatever they plan to do for the second iteration of this universe for sure.
Yep. Leading into Doctor Strange is the next one again. Approximately 2021. It's going to be a big year.
I mean, the Avengers is not done yet. Like, we are going to be having more Avenger teams for sure, and they'll probably have more movies.
Okay, so before shows now, what I'm diving into is I'm starting to write out. I'm trying to get more organized, and I'm writing out show notes. And one of these new characters that is getting introduced is named Shang-Chi. And I've been trying to do as much research about him as possible. And he is
Master of Kung Fu.
Awesome character. Yes. And he is awesome character. So again, I'm just going to read a little something that I had just copied and pasted, but it's just a little bit about this character that I think is interesting. So it says, although it has never been determined exactly how extensive Shang-Chi's fighting skills are, he has beaten numerous superhuman opponents. Shang-Chi is classified as an athlete, but he is one of the best non-superhumans in martial arts and has dedicated much of his life to the art, being referred to by some as the greatest empty-handed fighter and practitioner of Kung Fu alive. Much of his physical abilities seem to stem from his master of Qi, which often allows him to surpass physical limitations of normal athletes. He's also demonstrated the ability to dodge bullets from machine guns and sniper rifles, and is able to deflect gunshots with his bracers. Shang-Chi is also highly trained in the arts of concentration and meditation, as an expert in various hand weapons, including swords, staffs, kali sticks, nunchucks, and shuriken. Followed exposure to the cosmic radiation from the incursions, Shang-Chi was able to create an unlimited number of duplicates of himself.
Oh, wow.
I mean, give me that movie.
Yeah, definitely Bruce Lee influence, but this would be a very interesting character, maybe the better version of Iron Fist that we deserve.
Yes,
Feels
much better.
Was he like an Agent Smith, just can dodge bullets machine gun wise?
No, what I'm telling you, Matt, is when I get done with you, you won't have to. No, but no.
Screw it. Sign up to Keanu Reeves right now. He's in his
John
heyday
Wick
right
7.
now with John Wick.
He'll do John Wick 7.
He's Shang-Chi.
He'll be Shang-Chi.
Keanu Reeves is
really
what? He's Canadian, isn't he? He's not even.
No,
he just really just loves martial arts.
Yeah.
Within the Marvel universe itself, is this a standalone thing?
As of right now, I don't have that information. I gotta believe it's going to be totally mixed in with all the other characters. I mean, it will probably be an origin standalone film, but I have a feeling it's going to, at least in the end credits, show inklings of it connecting to what's going on currently in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Credit, you're in China someplace, and you get your ass kicked by somebody who's just a badass.
Yeah, and maybe we even see, Clint Barton, who's going to be still very much around, and he's doing his own, Disney Plus series with them. Maybe because he was fighting the Yakuza, maybe he already came across him, and he was already out there, and he ran into him. Who knows?
This will be a great adaptation.
Yeah,
sure, because this is going to pay homage to all those great kung fu movies, and if you're a fan of Little Trouble in Big China, or all those old kung fu style movies, this will be awesome. I mean, even the second Wolverine movie is almost like a kung fu movie.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. And the cool thing is, we're looking still from now. It's still a couple years out, so I'm excited with what they are going to be able to do, just technology wise. Even enhancing what we see on the screen. I mean, it's gonna be beautifully done. I think it's gonna be like nothing we've ever seen before within the life of kung fu. So I'm pumped for that one. I mean, that's something I'm super excited about. The next one, which is gonna be the other big one, is gonna be Guardians of the Galaxy, or As Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, depending on what you guys think.
With Fat Thor. Hey.
I said in the last podcast, give me Fat Thor to start, but then give us a training montage. Please give me a training montage.
Oh man, that would be great.
With
the
him and
one-liners
Peter
between
Quill.
those two. Yep.
Like he'd just be like, "Hey, look at me. I'm, Peter Quill. I'm lifting, 50 pounds. What do you got over there?" And he's just like lifting up like this 2-ton thing, just like, oh, nothing big, something.
One finger.
Yeah, just.
Squat moon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just something embarrassing. But that one again is going to be James Gunn again, being rehired at Disney, like we already stated.
That's going to give us the answers about the Soul Stone. That movie better give us answers about what happens.
We'll see, man.
Because at the end of Endgame, you could just tell he was not content until he finds whatever the 2014 version is of Gamora. So
yeah, I mean, that's going to be his new mission, right? He was already looking for. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's got to go persuade her that, hey, you love me, come back here.
Yeah, exactly. We had a connection, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. I just love those characters together. They play off each other so well, and they're always going to have that fight for control, which is hilarious. And everybody's always going to show Thor more respect than Peter, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. That is if they do join. I know we're going to see him probably in the very beginning, no matter what, because he left with them, so he hitched a ride. So I think that was setting it up, but we'll see, because it is going to be now time past when they do give us this movie. So we'll see. Next big one is going to be Captain Marvel 2. So now these movies going forward at Guardians of the Galaxy is now approximately 2022. So now we're a few years, in the future here, leading into 2022, giving us a new Captain Marvel 2 movie, which I can only believe is going to be the Skrull Wars.
Nice.
We got Skrulls in her origin movie, and the ones that we did see were proven to be good. But like I said in our last podcast, for every good, any race or whatever they do, they're going to have good and bad. And the Skrull War is such a huge segment within comics that I feel like the first movie was just a setup for that. And actually, I think one of the
Secret Wars the same as Skrull Wars?
I'm sorry. Secret Wars is what I'm referring to when I say Skrull Wars.
Oh, okay. They're one and the same then. Okay.
And what I think one of the bad guys is going to be is actually, I think it's going to be the main General Skrull's daughter.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I think is who we're going to see, because if you look at her in that movie where he says, hey, don't let her look, and he has to go and kill a bunch of guys, and she does look at it and she sees what's happening and she's kind of looking at it and she doesn't look really fearful. She kind of likes it. If you go back and look at it, I think what we're going to see is her probably be one of the bad guys, which would be an interesting little setup, and then obviously refer back to an older movie, which they like to do too, little recalls. And then going forward, again, just me rattling stuff off, and this is after 2022, we're supposedly supposed to see X-Men, Fantastic Four, a possible Avengers 5, and Deadpool 3. So those last four, those are supposed to be like a pretty far away, guys. I mean, I just don't think we might get hints towards it, but I don't think we're going to see anything of mutants or Fantastic Four for a few more years. And actually, that's what they've been stating over at Marvel. They said, don't hold your breath is pretty much what they were saying. We have a lot to do before we even introduce those characters, and we want to do it right. We
also know that Marvel likes to do 3 movies a year. So Spider-Man Far From Home is 2019's third movie this year. And then if you get the Eternals and Black Widow, that's only 2 movies in 2020. So there's got to be something else sprinkled in there. Black Panther 2, Doctor Strange 2, and Shang-Chi, that's all 2021. That lines up perfectly. But then, if you're getting Guardians and Captain in 2022, patience is definitely key, but Marvel's on its own timeline and time frame for these things. So 3 movies a year, that's what they've been doing for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's been working out pretty damn well. Okay, so last segment, you guys, and then we'll get this all finished up, is going to be the new HBO original series, The Watchmen. I'm a huge fan. I know, Matt, you're a huge fan. Mike, you said you saw the movie Zack Snyder did. Well, we were big fans of the actual graphic novel and the movie, but mainly for me, the graphic novel. Would you agree, Matt?
Oh, absolutely. And for all intents and purposes, I do think Zack Snyder did do as good of a job as he could have with that movie.
Totally. I mean, there was a lot to do, and whenever you're taking something off of a graphic novel, you still have a lot of time to fill. I mean, you finish the book in maybe an hour or an hour and a half.
People called it it's the impossible one to do, and for what he did, I think he did a good job with it.
Yeah, and remember, at the time when it was filmed, I mean, there was a lot of things that they had to accomplish with Dr. Manhattan and how he looked, and all the graphics that went into it and everything else. So I had no problem with the movie adaptation of it. I thought it was a lot of fun. But anyway, HBO is coming out with the Watchmen series. It's going to be very interesting, and if you read anything about it, it's supposed to be in present day. So,
hell yeah.
Which that alone for me, I'm super pumped about, because
there's so much to pull from now.
Exactly, so much to pull from, so many things that happened from the 70s where it took place till now that they can now use and really put in anything they need to help this story now move forward. So
and they're taking it from both. You're not trying to redo the Watchmen. You're taking it from both stories, which ended the same way. Ended with New York exploding and all the humans basically being in peace. So, and Rorschach's journal being out there. So they're really creating their own new story, which from the trailer looks terrific.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're literally treating his journal like it's like the Bible, and this is like a cult following. It almost reminds me a little bit of like V for Vendetta, just joining the cause and whatnot. But it looks like Jeremy Irons is playing Ozymandias, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's literally, this is the same character, right? Like him, just old now, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they still got him, which is good, because what they said in the article that I was reading is they're definitely pulling and getting inspiration, obviously, from the graphic novel for history's sake, but they're also very much pulling from Zack Snyder's film adaptation of it as well. So there's going to be hopefully a healthy mix of both to really just be a crowd pleaser. That way they're hitting both.
Just like I know HBO at the very moment is doing a show Chernobyl, which I caught the first episode of, which is terrific. That's obviously historical.
So good. It's so
good. That's more of a mini series. Is this supposed to be a sort of as long as this can go? Are they trying to continue this story, or is this a mini series?
I hope it's a mini series.
Me too. I mean,
Maybe no more than like 2-3 seasons. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's only so far you can go with this.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, there has to be some form of endgame. And yeah, I want to seem like, I don't hope they don't give away too much in like within the first series, because if the whole point is to say like Dr. Manhattan coming back, then where else are you going to go from there? I don't know. So yeah, I hope it's a mini series and not a full-fledged series that they're looking to get 8 seasons out of.
Yeah. So just as a refresher too, kind of what you already said about Rorschach's journal, in the article that I sent you guys, it says that it serves as one of the biggest loose ends in the original Watchmen. It says just before his death, Walter Kovacs mailed his journal to the offices of the right-wing publication New Frontiersman, leaving behind a trail of evidence implicating Ozymandias. The final pages lead the readers to wonder if the journal will serve its purpose. Will Rorschach achieve victory in death? Or will the journal just be dismissed as a raving lunatic, right? So obviously from the trailer, we see he's locked up, right? He's just older, but he's in jail. Do we see the Ozymandias guy?
No, he seems to be.
Yeah, he seems free.
Does he seem free? Okay, so just from that alone, from the trailer, we don't know if he's been persecuted for any of it.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
Which could lead further into the cult following. Like, look I left this trail behind and nothing was done. Now it's up to us to actually do something about it. I mean, that can further motivate.
What happened to the end of Dr. Manhattan's story? Would he just stay on Mars or something, or what happened?
Yeah, he booked it out of there, remember? Because at the very end of the movie,
completely given up on humanity and wanted nothing else to do with it.
And he was giving everyone cancer, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was Ozymandias' play.
Yeah, that was Ozymandias' play.
That's right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
From what it looks like, Ozymandias is basically, he achieved peace. The whole point of it was that humanity can only live together if they have the common enemy, and the common enemy was Dr. Manhattan. And so it probably is starting in the realm of everything's fine. That's why the cops are all wearing the same things. Everything is hunky-dory. The journal is out there, has its own cult following, wants to bring Ozymandias to some form of justice. So I think that's going to be the interplay of who's right and who's wrong. Was the Rorschach's journal the pure good, the pure truth needs to be out there, right? Or was Ozymandias right? I can see the series playing on those facts of playing the audience of who you going to be agreeing with.
God, they did such a good job too, because I really did see both sides. Like here, this guy was looking at Dr. Manhattan as his way out to find peace, being like, listen, like here's this powerful being that nobody can control, nobody can understand, and let's put everything on him to join everybody in this, cause for world peace. And like I get that, like that sounds hunky dory, right? And that sounds great. But at the end of the day too, for him, I mean, well, he took it. I mean, he didn't fight against it either. I mean, like you said, he gave up on humanity, and really he wasn't really he didn't have any mental humanity left. He had zero human consciousness at that point. He was almost more of a robot than anything else. He really lost himself as the character further went on. It's going to be very interesting to see how they do this show, but it looks very dark. I mean, it looks, the fact that it's on HBO is perfect. Any other network, I don't think could have done it justice.
Very appropriate to be on HBO. So I was just going to ask real quick, presumably, what characters are still going to be in the show? Is it, like, are we going to have Night Owl and Silk Spectre?
I don't think so. I think these are going to be pretty all, for the most part, new characters.
Okay.
I think it's now so far in the future that there's just not a lot of the old ones around.
Okay, because what's his face? Ozymandias. How old do you think he is in this?
Oh God. Well, he must have been in his 30s and the 70s.
Right.
Okay. So he's probably like 80 years old now or something.
Yeah, played by Jeremy Irons.
Okay, then there might be some mention of Night Owl and Silk Spectre then.
Yeah,
I think Silk Spectre. I think they're both still alive. I think one of the older women you see is possibly Spectre, and who might, these older incarnations of themselves might still be playing a role in this and still have a role to play. Allegedly, they're probably still in Rorschach's journal themselves, for good or for bad.
Yeah, see, I think there'll be reference to them. I just don't think we're going to physically see them. I don't think that's going to be brought up.
Even if we physically see them, I don't think they're going to play a big role in it.
Yeah, never take IMDb as gospel, because they've been proven to be just huge liars when it comes to who is in a movie and what they're actually doing. But according to just everything I've read, when I look at the cast for these, they're nowhere to be seen. So
you never know, though. It might be a nice tease for a season-ending episode.
Totally, like a little surprise, which would be cool. I'd be into that. I'd be totally into that. So we'll see. I mean,
and that's not coming out until what, like
September,
November?
I believe. September, I believe.
September, okay.
Yeah, so we still got a little while away, but not too long. Shit, man, it's already coming up to the end of May or mid-May. Which is unbelievable. But yeah, it's one of those ones that they did a great job within the trailer. I still don't know a ton about, what's going on, other than Mike, really, you spelled it out the most in that trailer. It seemed like the focus mainly was on the Rorschach cult. I mean, you hear TikTok through the whole thing of all them just psychically just saying it and repeating it to like a bunch of whack jobs, which I loved.
Which is awesome, because that just references that there's going to be a new group of Minutemen, which is pretty cool.
Yep, exactly, which is cool. And then you hear that guy at the very end, what are you getting ready for? He was like, the end of the world. So something big is definitely going to be into place. But again, when that second trailer really drops and we get closer, we're going to do a full episode breakdown on Watchmen, and we might have to have you back for that one too, Mike.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, guys. I mean, we've been on here for quite some time. So, Mike, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate everything and all your insight on what you do and all the video game world. All that stuff is very, very interesting, and I look forward to having you back on.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, thank you as always.
Always fun. We'll be talking next week.
Yeah, we'll be talking next week. And if anybody ever wants to look us up, we are on Twitter at What's the Focus Podcast. So feel free to leave us a little message or any kind of suggestions or something that maybe you guys want to actually listen to or have us talk about. We always appreciate that kind of information. So, thanks again for joining us. And that's going to do it for us. So thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
Next time, guys.
Later.
Hi, folks. Dirk Bentley here. Being on the go is a big part of my life. I love seeing new places, meeting new people, and performing all over the world. For energy on the go, for me, it's 5-Hour Energy. It works fast, works long, and it tastes good. With 0 sugar and 4 calories. Try it. It could work for your on-the-go life, too. 5-Hour Energy. Energy on the go.
Get 5-Hour Energy at your local Sheetz. And now, an ad from Dad.
All right, save money on car insurance when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Can I take these off? All right. What is this? This looks good. Wow, that's well made. Where did you get this? I'm talking to you with the hair. Yeah, where did you get this? It's good stuff. That's solid. That's not veneer, that's solid stuff.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discounts not available in all states or situations.